last week we talked a little bit about something that Bernie Sanders has been pushing, among other people, which is to deepen the victory of the 1930s, and God, I mean, you can go back to like mid 19th century Britain. If you read Marx's Capital, chapter 10 is all about the working day is about the struggle for a 60-hour work week. In that case, 10 hours a day, Monday through Saturday, and the kind of bitter and protracted struggle that it took to achieve that. But of course, there has been this massive increase in labor productivity since 1938. It would be nice if some of that went to increased leisure time for the working class. This is why people like Bernie are talking about a 32-hour work week. And we have a clip of actual, not using this in the usual shitty way we use this phrase, but actual friend of the show, Kyle Kulinski, talking about that.
This article is in Jacobin and is written by friend of the show, Ben Burgis. Everybody go check out his YouTube channel and his various articles. Bernie Sanders is calling for reduction in the work week to 32 hours at full-time pay. He's absolutely right. Gains in productivity should serve the working class. Earlier this month, Bernie Sanders renewed his longstanding call to reduce the work week to 32 hours. He pointed out that there have been huge advances in technology and productivity in the 8 decades and change since the Fair Labor Standards Act capped the work week at 40 hours. So here are his exact words. In 1940, the Fair Labor Standards Act reduced the work week to 40 hours. Today, as a result of huge advances in technology and productivity, now is the time to lower the work week to 32 hours with no loss in pay. Workers must benefit from advanced technology, not just the 1%. Critics argue that it's fine if technological advances deliver the shorter work week without government intervention, but that top-down interference in the free market is a bad idea. This idea doesn't stand up to even cursory scrutiny. If the reduction in hours was going to happen without being mandated, it would have happened long ago. Bernie is right. If we want increased productivity to benefit the working class, we need to take political action to make that happen. The idea is slowly gaining traction. Last year, a state-level version was proposed in California. And this March, there was an attempt in Congress to institute a 32-hour work week by amending the Fair Labor Standards Act. So, look, on this one, shout out to California. They also led the way when it comes to generic medicine. They're doing their own, California state insulin factory, which they're going to sell at a much lower cost than what insulin goes for from the pharmaceutical companies. They're doing sectoral bargaining when it comes to unions for fast food workers. So they're going to set wages across the entire industry, which is a phenomenal idea. And by the way, it's by doing things like sectoral bargaining that people get paid even above and beyond what a minimum wage should be, because the union's protecting all the workers in that industry. That's phenomenal. And apparently they gained they proposed a state-level 32-hour work week there recently. So he goes on to say, right now these efforts face an uphill battle, to say the least. The California bill stalled out in 2022, though it could be amended and reintroduced this year. The federal attempt is going to be strangled in the crib, as a matter of course. It was introduced in the House Education and Workforce Committee, whose chair, Republican Representative Virginia Foxx of North Carolina, has said that blanket federal regulations often cause more harm than good because they don't account for the unique needs of various groups, and that Main Street America doesn't need more top-down federal mandate. That's hilarious. I love how she tries to frame it as like it's being pro-Main Street to be against a 32-hour work week, when obviously almost everybody on Main Street would be like, hell yeah, we want a 32-hour work week. He continues, all of this top-down mandates talk, all this talk of top-down mandates makes me wonder what Fox or Shackelford would think about bottom-up mandates imposed by strong labor unions. I suspect neither of them would support the PRO Act or similar efforts to create a more favorable legal environment for organizing unions. That's such a great point. They're like, we're against the government intervening to say 32-hour work week. We're against top-down enforcement. So Burgess is like, okay, what about bottom-up enforcement? What if the union said, let's do 32 hours? They'd still oppose it. This is who they are. They're just not in favor of it, but they find weaselly ways to say they're not in favor of it, or weaselly reasons to say they're not in favor of it.
Yeah. So this is just clearly something that's not going to happen without somebody making it happen, whether the regulatory state, a reinvigorated labor movement, or both. But just realized I had a prop there for reinvigorated labor movements. But in any case, we will be talking more about this. But just wanted to highlight that again on May Day. Was also very happy to see somebody in the chat saying the federal workers in Canada just got a tentative agreement. By the way, Rutgers, we covered the Rutgers strike extensively when that was happening. Also just got a tentative agreement. It was like a little bit complicated because the governor had been mediating it, and we ended up going back to work for a framework that wasn't like a fully fleshed out TA, but there is a tentative agreement now embodying all those gains. The 43% increase for pay for adjuncts, and a lot of the other demands at the time. So strikes work. More strikes, please. Either of you guys have anything about this before we move on to the next topic?
The only thing I would add is, I even saw Dave Rubin talking about this. Like, it popped up on my TikTok about, we're all we should be afraid of automation because what that means for labor conditions. But people act as if it's I'm not the first to make this point, but it's a bit tiring to see people act like it's the automation that's making the labor conditions worse, as opposed, to the relative power of America's workers to actually benefit from the fact that, overall the workforce is so much more efficient. So it's not the technology itself. And even if people are just doing it kind of not on purpose, I think it's a mistake to kind of cede this power to just like this, completely non-judgmental force of history that is technological improvements, because that's been happening for a long time and that isn't new.
Yeah, exactly. And, under different political conditions, technological improvements could just mean a shorter work week, right? In fact, there have been a massive amount of technological improvement since the last time the work week was lowered. It just not in conditions of class struggle that enable workers to capture those productivity gains for themselves, either in terms of meaningfully higher wages or shorter hours. You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.